Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Reverend G. I am Reverend Grenetta Mason, aka Reverend G, and I'm here every Monday night on WEMS Radio from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., bringing you spiritual conversations. And each week, I have guests from all walks of life, from different perspectives, different careers, with all kind of different opinions and a lot of different activities going on in their lives. So we come together in hopes to inspire you, to share information with you, and to support you in having the life that you love. Because, my goal is to help you find some joy and live your best life with grace and ease. And in doing that, I look to say what spiritual practices can support you. We look at the spiritual toolkit. We look at spirituality from a practical point of view and how you can use it in your everyday life. So tonight, I have a really, really special guest that I've known for a really long time. And I've just reconnected with Robert Parker Jr. Robert is an actor, a singer, he's a songwriter, and an activist. He's also a father and a grandfather. And tonight we will talk about his spiritual journey and the things that have supported him in his life to where he is now. So we'll have Robert come in and share with us. But if you want to know more about me during the week, you can find me on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason, on Instagram as Rev Grenetta. I'm also on YouTube as Reverend Grenetta Mason. So join me each day. And tonight, let's have this very special conversation with Robert Parker Jr. I call him Parker, so I'll refer to him as Parker. Parker, are you here?
I am here. Hey, how are you?
Parker's outside.
I'm
Look at
outside.
you in a cone. Okay, right. There you go. Perfect. How are you?
No.
Okay, I hear
Oh,
you.
I'm sorry.
All right. Okay. So just
Definitely
like
doing some technical
relax
things.
because now you got all this movement and starting out. Where am I gonna sit? Where am I gonna put my camera? Get relaxed
Correct.
so we can have a real conversation. You ready?
I'm good now.
You good now?
I'm good.
Okay. Robert, hey. Parker, I was
Hey.
saying Parker, I'm going to call you Parker because I think
Yeah.
about when we met, like what, some 30 plus years ago, right? Back
Almost
in,
37, 38.
yeah, way back. And then I haven't seen you or talked to you in like 25 years,
Yep.
right? So, I mean, it's just like a huge like gap of time,
A
right?
big
But
part of life.
yeah, I'm excited to have you. So, I guess let's talk a little bit about what when you look at your spirituality, did you grow up Christian? And can you give us a little bit about growing up Christian, if you did, and
Um,
where you are now?
there was nothing traditional about my spiritual journey as far as growing up. There was, but then it wasn't. I was raised by my great grandparents. My
Mhm.
great grandmother believed in the St. James version of the Bible, the King
Oh,
James version of the Bible.
St.
Um,
James.
right, the St. James, the King James. But
Okay.
so that's how she practiced her life.
Mhm.
She was definitely taught me about do unto others as you want others to do unto you. Don't lie. Christian values. But we
Mhm.
were not in church every Sunday.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, I was with my great grandparents, so they were really pretty old.
Mm.
I didn't find out that they weren't my parents until I was 7.
Oh,
But at
okay.
that point, um, But as far as my religious belief, they put me. I remember back in those days, in my elementary school, I went to parochial school. I went to a Catholic elementary school,
Mm-hmm.
because in my neighborhood back in the Bronx, that was what they did. If they wanted private school or good education, what have you, they didn't
Mm-hmm.
want me to go to elementary, public school, so they sent me
Mm-hmm.
to parochial school. But
Got it.
but even with that, they did not, because at one point I remember the nuns were trying to have me choose,
Mm-hmm.
whether I was going to be a Catholic or not, and they were like, no. My great grandparents were like, no, not now. When he
Mm-hmm.
becomes of age and he knows a little bit more, let him make that decision on his own.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So as far as my religion practice, I mean, I've practiced. I've delved into Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned Catholicism, Christianity. I've studied several different, entities as religions, really.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, what I will say is I do believe in a higher power. I do believe in manifesting your own destiny through having faith,
Mm-hmm.
in that higher power, and working with it, being open-minded, being in tune with the universe, and kind of sort of where you fit in.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, as a young person, think that I was a misfit, but I've learned as growing older and becoming a mature older man. We won't say old, but just older. um, I've learned to go with the flow. I mean, I have faith. I have faith
Mm-hmm.
in something out there. I know it's something that's stronger than us and bigger than us. I don't
Mm-hmm.
really know how to explain it, and I don't know if calling it a God or Jesus or Muhammad, or I don't even think, I don't even know if that's enough.
Hmm.
To
You know
to
what comes to mind? It's interesting when you talk about like being raised Christian and going into Buddhism, and how you define your spirituality now. Does Can you talk about being a part of the LGBT community and the impact of Christianity on you? And how your journey how Christianity per se has it impacted you?
Well, I mean, just having the faith in the higher power. And that's why I don't want to just call it just Christianity. It's just that belief, that faith,
Okay.
um, that has gotten me through. I was fortunate enough, like I said, being raised by my great grandmother. When I did come out,
Mhm.
I didn't, I've heard so many ugly stories
Mhm.
about young men coming out, young black men
Mhm.
coming out, and
Mhm.
how their families have shunned them or,
Mhm.
abused them or what have you. I was blessed enough to, when I told my great grandmother, she was like, rabbit, like I didn't know,
Okay.
so,
Mhm.
and she was very supportive. She got everybody else in the family together. So,
Mhm.
my family had to fall in line
Mhm.
because
Great grandma.
she was great. Yeah, and she was the
Right.
matriarch of the family. So what she
Right.
said went, but
Mhm.
in the same sense, I know that there was a lot of gay black men that came out in Christian families that were
Mhm.
just, I mean, still at their, I know some of my friends in their
Mhm.
50s still dealing
Mhm.
with the repercussions of how their family treated them or mistreated them.
Mhm. Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was blessed,
Mhm.
to, like I said, not have any real judgment. My
Mhm.
family was very supportive. I've always have been, uh,
Mhm.
but it's been a journey.
Mhm.
You know,
I know. I met you. You were a singer, right?
right.
When we met back then. What has been going on with your singing career since then, and where are you now with that? And can you talk about some significant moments during this whole time where your spirituality has played out to support you?
Um. Wow. Okay. And as far as musical achievements, I'd gotten to a point. I did a lot of stuff. Like right after we met,
Mhm.
a lot of recording. We had even shopped a deal with Warner Brothers. It was looking very good, and then
Mhm.
life stepped in. Um,
Mm.
it threw me off course. I had a
Mm.
child to raise,
Oh.
two children at that point.
Oh.
So things became a little bit more serious.
Mhm.
Um, over the it and because the deal didn't go through the way I wanted it to, of course, I became a little jaded and
Mhm.
focused my energy in other aspects where I needed to make money. I have a child now, two kids to
Mhm.
raise, and
Mhm.
I needed to focus on that.
Mhm.
Um, Over the years, did a lot of, back in the day, we did do a lot of performing. I remember earlier today or yesterday, we talked about the group me, Lloyd, and Jeffrey had together. And
Mhm.
my son's mother and her husband at that time managed us for a while. So we did a lot of stuff in the city. I did Showtime at the Apollo with Steve Harvey. My
Mhm.
brother just surprised just pulled that out of the archives the other last month. He sent that to me. I pulled it up on Amazon Prime and had a good old chuckle over that. And right now, how I will say my spirituality has impacted is me as far as my musical career. The
Mhm.
fact that I can still get up now and sing, and my vocals can be just as good as they were back then. That is a
Mm.
blessing for me with what
Mhm.
I've been through. Well, what I'm dealing with physically.
Mm.
Um, it just the fact that I'm sitting here having this conversation, feeling and
Mhm.
looking the way I do,
Mhm.
um, the way God has graced me, or the higher power has graced me and preserved me over these years.
Mhm.
It's just that just heightens my spirituality even more. It just makes me believe that yes, there is something out there that's bigger than us, and to an extent, I'm in tune with that, and I
Mhm.
feel very at peace.
Mhm.
Right now with my life, I don't think about what people think. I really don't
Mhm.
care. I'm gonna be me, and
Mhm.
because I've been that thus far.
Mhm.
And you speak about Christianity and stuff. I just think that's just a part of being in tune with that, whatever you want to call it, whether it's
Mhm.
Christianity or well, however you want to label it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I know we don't have to necessarily get into the label of it all because generally we talk. I think that, as you said, being raised by your grandparents as a Christian, there were certain foundations that you got. There was a certain foundation, like you
Right.
said, do unto others, be honest,
Exactly.
be truthful. Being raised in that, there's that foundation that you got. But as we
Exactly.
move through life and as you evolve, you have to develop your own sense of what spirituality means to you, right? And your
Exactly.
own sense of even how to practice what spiritual practices that you will still carry through. Because if you could think about when you were a kid and if you were praying with your grandmother, well, there may be times where now you might do some of those same prayers,
I
right?
do every night.
Right.
Gwen, every night. I still say the Lord's Prayer every night that I
Right.
don't that I don't pass out if I'm too tired or too tipsy or whatever. But every night that I go to sleep saying the Lord's Prayer, and including my family. That's just something that I was raised to do.
Right. And that's like some of those, that's a practice, a spiritual practice that is carried over, right? That it's just an automatic and you continue to do it. And it sustains you though, because I was last week, I had a moment of gratitude and I thought about how much listening to gospel music put
Mm.
me in a special place of being grateful, in a
Oh yes,
special place, of just praise and worship. So that comes from though how I grew up listening to
hmm
gospel music. Because if I tell you today, sometimes I listen to some of the words and I go, "Oh Lord, let me change the words to these songs,"
I do
right?
the same thing, Gwen, every Sunday morning, from like maybe 10 to like maybe 1.
Mhm.
That's my gospel music time. I go
Mhm.
into my, and I have certain songs that I really just, they send me,
Mhm.
and that's my
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
So,
You know what? I while I'm talking, I think of remember things. You said you had a child. Let's get back to that. So I haven't seen you in 25 years. How old is your child? Like 21?
26.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And I have two grandkids.
Wow. What's that like? And how did you come to having a family? You want to give us a little bit about how that all.
Um, Really? Let me see. I would say now I'm moving my citronella candle because the mosquitoes are trying to eat me. but
You're in the country. Oh Lord.
but Michelle kind of saved my life. She, excuse me, came into my life at a pretty crazy time.
Mhm,
Um, I had my battle with drugs, my demons,
mhm, mhm,
and she came in and we became friends, and then business partners, and then lovers. Um,
mhm,
it was not something that I had really thought about until she came into my life. Michelle was probably the first and last and only woman that I'll probably ever be with.
mhm,
We are
mhm,
still very close today.
mhm,
We share two beautiful sons. We have one
mhm,
biological one together, and then it's her son, which is Robert, but he's my son because I've known him
mhm.
since he was 6 years old.
Okay.
And we built a wonderful little family. And we're not your traditional family, but we're thick as thieves still today. My oldest
Mhm,
son, matter of fact, I was just telling you earlier today, I'll be in New York on the 21st for his wedding. He gets
mhm.
married. Hmm.
Yeah,
And
that's really special when you talk about we think about how life we have this way we're going and we think we're going and then things happen and then you're on a different path. Did you ever think you would have kids or want kids?
I never, until I really, no, I never thought
Okay.
about having kids until I met Michelle. No.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
I mean, at an early age, I realized that I was a gay man, and it was just not something that it wasn't a reality back then. You know what I'm saying? And especially, I came out like during the AIDS epidemic, and
Okay.
crazy enough to find out 10 years in 1992 that I was actually positive. I've been positive for the last, next year will be 30 years.
Oh wow.
And through that, I was able to live my life um, pretty much unscathed. I've been very blessed that I've never been hospitalized or anything for it. My
Mhm.
son was born and not affected by it, and neither was his mom. So
Mhm.
that in itself is just the
God bless.
universe speaking volumes to me. And
Mhm.
um, whether, like I said, we can go back to labeling it if you want to or not, however, but whatever it is, I know I'm favored. Um,
Mhm.
and I live my life like that, and I try to um, implement that back into, put it back out there into the universe, because the
Mhm.
universe has definitely fed me a lot of positivity, a lot of life experiences, and positive life experiences over these last 26 years that we have not, been
Mhm.
in contact. But it's phenomenal where I sit right now, and I have to say I appreciate you giving me the opportunity, or just opening up and letting me come and be a guest on your show and to talk, because I know it's a lot that I've learned, and I believe I have a lot to offer to maybe
Mhm.
younger people who are going through things that I have been through,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
maybe I could shed a light or help them, get through it a little bit easier.
Mhm. And that's great because it sounds like your experience. wasn't terrible. You had the support of your family, and
Yes.
so many young people, they get kicked out. They have nowhere to
Yes.
go, and
Yes.
they would need that support. You told me you were like an old school OG, right? And that just cracks me up, right? So if you look, and as you said, you were in the '80s, the AIDS epidemic. What have you seen, and how's the evolution of how everything has changed impact you?
I
Like
don't. I
with
say that one more time. Now, how is that? What?
how everything has changed. Now, it's like we used to be like the
Oh, I
lesbians,
got
the
what you're
gays,
saying.
and the
Okay,
bisexuals.
let me
Now you
just
got
help
the
you.
trans, you got a
Okay, we was talking about
whole
this earlier.
world.
We was talking about this earlier. You know what wears me up? It doesn't wear me out. I'm just trying to keep up. If
Mhm.
look, I love the gay community. I'm a gay man openly, and but if they add one more letter on to this LGBT, I get so confused, honey. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just can't keep up. It's a old time.
Right.
Really?
Mhm.
LGBT. Don't ask me to remember anything more than that. I can't.
Right.
It's,
And yeah,
it's not
it
even gonna
gets
happen on a good day, okay? LGBT. That's it for me,
That's
okay?
how you know, right? Yeah, it
No
is interesting
disrespect
too,
to anybody else, but that's all I'm gonna remember, okay?
right? No disrespect, but there's a
No
whole
disrespect.
world. Yeah, a whole new community of, and
Everything
you
is
know
just
what's
so
interesting
new.
though? This is what it's like, no labeling, right? Nobody
Right.
wants to say I'm labeled, but then there are these other things like binary and fluid and all that. Is that a label or not, right? So
I
it's
mean,
kind of like,
to
I don't
me
know.
it
I don't
is a
know.
label, just like that. That's the point I'm trying to make, like with all these darn letters. I mean, isn't that still a part of labeling?
I can kind of say yes, uh, yeah, but at the same time, I think I look at it as, because we're of a different generation. I read about it and I educate myself so that I'll know what's going on and be able to support. So if you're going to support this younger generation, it's really good to understand,
Educate myself, yeah.
educate on how they're thinking, where they are, to be able to share the wisdom that you have with them.
Got
So
you.
that's the part where I see it's important for us to understand in order to share, in
Mm.
order to support them, because I really really appreciate um, your willingness to support the younger
Well,
LGBTQ
I mean, I have
community.
two young men, and
Right.
now I have grandkids, so
Hmm.
it's a part of my life,
Hmm.
and seeing those little ones, I tell you, it just makes my day. Both of them, just little
Hmm.
sweet peas.
Hmm. That
And
is
I would have
great.
never thought.
I love that, because you would have never thought that you would be a parent, and now you're a parent and a grandparent. I just think that's
I
really,
know, and
really great.
it's all happened since we've seen each other last. What the heck is that all about?
I know, right? Um, it's true. Right now, over the past year, right, since
Hmm.
we've been in this pandemic, can you talk about? I think you did a movie right before the pandemic, or
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
talk
I did.
about,
If I
right? You
should
did a
die before I
movie.
wake. It's actually in another film festival, spring film festival out in Hollywood. This spring. Matter of fact, I guess this month and next month. I don't know exactly. I got to talk to Eric because I had to do a video yesterday, talking about my role, the character that I played, and how I felt about the role. So I had to
Hmm.
do that just yesterday and send that off to him. So
Hmm.
it's something going on with the movie. It's actually a 3-book series.
Hmm.
Um, and my part is in all 3 books. So I'm keeping my
Okay.
fingers crossed. We need a series.
They're
We need a
not gonna,
series.
not
Huh?
gonna just take you out, right? Right.
Yo, that would be so great. But Yeah, so I did that right before the year before the pandemic, and we've
Mm-hmm.
been getting a lot of good feedback. That same year after it premiered, they actually, because it's independent film, and
Right.
they had a big premiere down at Georgia State, and I went to that. It was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very the part that I play is Shelly Lambert, who's a drag queen in the movie, but she's
Oh.
not just a drag queen. She's a or she, he, however you choose to label it,
Mm-hmm.
um, is more of a mentor for a young man, a young gay man that is having entered into a relationship with an older married man. And
Mm-hmm.
Shelly, which is the part I play, is like a mentor and tries to guide the young man through the situation without him getting his feelings hurt, because
Mm-hmm.
the young man's mother finds out, and it just gets really crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So the part that I play, the role that I play, is like somebody he can come and talk to and converse about his situation, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm objective and kind of mothering and nurturing all at the same time. So it
Mm-hmm.
was really a good role, and it's kind of it's endemic of who I am. I mean, even my son's mother and my sister and people in my family tell me I'm just one of those people, and maybe it comes from my great grandmother. I'm very nurturing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw when my buddy, who is the director and writer of the movie, when he sent me the sides, I was like, oh my god, I can do this. I can do
Right.
this.
Your
And it's
role, right?
yeah, and it's actually I came in, and because when we filmed it, the whole movie had already been filmed, but the guy who was doing my part, his lines were off. It was just really bad. So, and I
Mm-hmm.
had done a couple of plays down in Atlanta with my buddy Eric before.
So you're
So,
in the, you're kind of in the shadow. Remember we talked about if it gets dark, maybe you
oh
can
yeah, you want me to try to move?
going to see your face a little bit. Maybe you.
Okay, yeah, I can move. I'll move. Hold
Okay.
on.
Oh,
Because yeah, I'm definitely in the dark now. That was our issue.
right. You said when the sun went down. Okay, right there is perfect. Okay, yes. Let's get right here. Here we go. Okay,
Yeah,
so
but then I have to hold the phone though. I don't have my
okay,
thing, but it's
let's
all
see.
good.
Now get relaxed. Okay, now. Oh God. So what I was gonna
You're like,
say
oh God,
is,
now I can see him. I was trying to be in the shadows.
well, now you're in the light, right? And if your arm gets too tired, you might have to move back to the shadow. If you have to
No, I'll
drop,
be fine. I could
you'll
probably
be
prop something up.
fine. The last year, the pandemic I was talking about, can you talk about the impact that it had for you?
Um, as far well, it's so weird because I had started school that
Oh,
January.
oh,
And
okay.
down here at my sister's, because I was saying she's going through a divorce, and I come down here. She has this huge place, like 7 acres. It's
Hmm.
like a little compound. So I come down
Hmm.
here and I'll stay in the guest house because since she's getting divorced, she doesn't like being on the property by herself with just her two boys.
Hmm.
So I go back and forth.
Hmm.
When the pandemic first hit, I was in school down here going to get my business degree.
Hmm.
And I'm old fashioned. I like the whole on campus thing. I
Wow.
like getting up and,
Cool.
getting prepared and going to school and seeing my
Mhm.
schoolmates and the teacher and the whole thing. Well, of course, 2 months into that, we weren't doing that anymore.
But you are online.
So huh?
You are online.
I, well, then I had to go online. In the beginning, I was on campus, but I had
Mhm.
to go online. And those next two semesters, quarters, well, the second one wasn't. By the third quarter, the summer quarter, I was like, nah, this ain't for me. So
Mhm.
I ended up pulling out. But
Mhm.
I was basically down here by myself. My sister and her two boys had gone out to California. So I was just
Mhm.
down here on the property for the first from January until they got back in April of last
Mhm.
year. So I was
Mhm.
basically self quarantined, which was
Mhm.
cool for me. I didn't mind. And
Mhm.
then my apartment came through,
Mm-hmm.
I was on a waiting list in this building for an apartment in Atlanta, and that happened in June.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved in there, and I've been going back and forth. But I've still basically been in quarantine. I don't deal with any more than maybe 4 or 5 people at any
Mm-hmm.
given time, and that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
where I am up there in Atlanta, where my apartment is, my doctor, everything is right across the street.
Mm-hmm.
I, I live very quarantine friendly.
Right.
It's all good.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when was it? On Monday, well, 2 weeks ago, I just had the first of my shots. I get the second one Monday. This Monday coming, week from today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it hasn't really. I've had 2 people that I've lost
Mm-hmm.
um, because of the pandemic. But as far as the effect, I had started self quarantining a little years before. I had a traumatic situation. I'm sure I wasn't the only one. I was at that Diana Ross concert in the park
Mm-hmm.
way back in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw people getting stampede on, and it was just kind of crazy. And that kind of pushed me away from being around crowds. And then 9/11 happened, and that
Mm-hmm.
really messed my head up. I didn't. So when it came down to social distancing,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't something that I hadn't already started.
Mm-hmm.
Practicing in some small way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's affected me by not being able to see my grandkids. I really
Mm-hmm.
miss that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and not being able to just be around friends and family and have hugs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Things will probably never be the same again. I was watching, what was that? Oh, I was watching the Pelican Brief today. I'd never seen it before.
That's
And
an old
I've
movie.
lived actually in St. Bernard Parish, right outside of New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a scene, and it
Mm-hmm.
was Mardi Gras on Bourbon Street. I don't know if you've
Mm-hmm.
ever been, but it'll never be like that again. I mean, when I say
Yeah.
6 feet, you'd be good if you
Mm-hmm.
can get six 6 inches, man. It was
I
so crazy.
know. It'll be
So
interesting to see how that comes back.
I don't know
Mardi
if
Gras.
that'll ever come back, Grand. I really don't. Not
I
like
would.
that. Not like that. I mean, it may come back, but not
Mm-hmm.
where we're that close. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe. I know I won't be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't do it in the first place. I was not a Mardi Gras. Like I said, I lived down there for 2 years. But then I've never been a person to be around a lot of people.
People.
Uh,
I vacation down there, and I like being around a lot of people. So, for me, I look forward to the time when we can get back to Mardi Gras type crowds and Mardi Gras type living. I look forward to that, but it'll
I
be
hope that we
interesting.
can. I
When
really
Yeah,
hope
it
that we
will be
can.
interesting to get back to that. It's been, I think for me, it's been a year of the past year was just so much because I had this big party I was going to do in New Orleans. I had to cancel.
Wow, really?
And then, yep, I was celebrating my birthday with a lot of people.
Oh,
And
right,
then
right.
we were all going to go down to New Orleans. Um,
Wow.
I canceled all that. And then with all the social unrest, the police killings, all that, it's just like been so crazy
So much, yeah.
that even now, here we are again today. We're still back, right? With the craziest things that were happening today that were like really blowing my mind when I think about it's kind of like really unbelievable when you think about how many black men are still being harassed by police.
Are we
Even
talking about in Virginia?
yeah, and
Is
we're
that
talking.
not crazy? I could not believe that. I was like, really? A lieutenant in the freaking army?
Yeah,
And y'all are doing this?
yeah,
I hope he gets
yeah,
some good. I really do. That's not
yeah.
cool.
It makes you like look and say, "Wow." I know on one of the things you said that you were an activist. Can you talk about what you have been doing in your role as an activist, and so what are some of the things that you support?
Well, of course, Black Lives Matter, but and of course, all lives matter. But it's just that we've been just yet again today, what we just
Right,
saw today, it's stuff like
right.
this. It just, I mean, as a black man, I'm like, really? I have black nephews. It's just a lot, and I mean, I want to, and I've been talking to my son about it, and I have a couple of songs that, matter of fact, I go in the studio in the next couple of months that I'm working on as far as just trying to bring awareness to exactly how bad it is for black people, the black men especially. You know, I have this song, "What You Gonna Do When the Cops Roll Up on You," and
Mm,
basically it talks about, what actually goes through our minds when we see that red and blue light.
mm,
You know, what
mm,
happens to our hearts when it starts to flutter because we're like, oh shit, what's about to happen? Can we die today?
mm,
What is going to actually happen here? And just like me and my sister was out here before our conversation, and we was talking about just how things need to be implemented, the changes that need to be implemented in the way these cops are supposed to, should be handling us. I mean, just like we'll bring up this incident with the lieutenant. I mean, they're trying to say that he evaded the situation and kept driving. Well, no, he was being safe. He
mm,
don't know if these are cops or not. He just
mm,
seeing a light.
mm.
He doesn't know if he doesn't know anything. But
But
it
when,
should
as
be
soon as they saw the uniform, the disrespect started. At
this
that point,
started,
they
of
should
course.
have been right. It was like at that point to me. And when I look at it, and I can ask you, what are you teaching your sons? You know, how are you raising your
Well,
sons?
my sons, we've all three of us have had conversations about how to act in a traffic stop. And both of them know. Well, they both drive with their license usually over the on the visor, so they don't
Mhm,
ever have to reach for their pockets or anything. Everything is in view when they have to reach. I
mhm,
teach them to drive with the license and registration in the visor, so the
mhm,
cop can see. You know what I'm saying? So they're not
mhm,
reaching down or on the side or anywhere where the cop can't see. It's in
mhm,
plain view.
mhm,
We've also had the conversation about not being confrontational. If they ask you to
mhm,
do something, just do it. You know,
mhm,
um, and keeping your voice at a tone level, because what we have a tendency to get excited real quick, and if it's a white on a black situation, it's, they gonna get a little scared. They just
right.
so,
Mm,
it's temperament I've talked to him about. So, I mean,
mhm,
we've had conversations on the do's and the don'ts in a traffic
mhm,
stop,
mhm,
but it still does not negate what I believe the cops need to, what kind of training they need that needs to be implemented or um, uh, 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 changed as far as how they treat us. Just like, in that stop, he should have been able to, if he cut his hazard lights on and bring his speed down to 35 or below,
mhm, mhm,
on his way to a safe spot. Yes, okay, the cops should know. Okay, he's giving us a signal that he's gonna stop
mhm,
by putting on his hazard lights or slowing
mhm,
down to a certain speed. Just
mhm,
these are things that I think need to be implemented in their training. You know what
mm.
I'm saying? As far as
Mhm.
because it's got to stop. This is crazy. I
I
mean,
don't.
the first thing I started thinking about is okay, next year and a half to 2 years, I'm gonna be taking my son down to my grandson down to Orlando, to Disney World. Am I
Mhm,
gonna have to deal with some craziness around my grandson?
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? These are the things
mhm.
that it's sad to say, but that we have to think about as black men. And
Yeah.
even my age,
Yeah.
you
And
know,
and
being
what
out.
do you teach them, and how do you raise black boys to be safe without? I don't know.
It's hard. It's
Yeah,
really hard.
be
It's like
safe
with
and live your life. That's why I want to say be safe or live your life, but I just see so much
It's hard.
anger and frustration that
Yeah,
comes out if you know you haven't done anything, right? And then you're
exactly.
being like manhandled, or you're just like, I don't know. From what I saw, the guy had his hands all out the window. So
He
that
did,
disturbed
and they
the hell
still
out of
pepper
me,
sprayed him.
right? That
And
he
they
was like,
still pepper sprayed him.
right, and they still, yeah, that's the part that really got me. And I was like, what happened? Where did his hands go? Why? But, something has to be done because right now it's a little crazy. All these shootings
A
every
lot.
week. Today, another school shooting, right? Um, so it's just a lot. And so we talk about spirituality from the perspective of also how do we live in this crazy world as it is now and find a sense of peace, find some joy. How do we heal? Because it's like a wound that keeps, it's you're trying to heal
Keeps
it,
picking.
right?
It keeps. Yeah, it's picked back open. It's like
Yes,
somebody's going like this. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And so at each
yeah.
point, you're trying to like heal at each point, you're trying to walk through it, but it just keeps coming up. And I just have to say, I can't watch that today.
It's hard.
So for me, the spiritual practice would be to take myself away from it, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
go and maybe listen to some gospel music or read something other to calm down the anxiety, the fear, the not knowing what to do next, the not knowing what's going to happen next, and just find that sense of peace.
What I
Uh,
do is, I go into myself. I meditate a lot. I
mm,
spend a lot of quality time with self. And
mm,
I know that that just heightens my spirituality, just like my sister and a couple of family and friends have said it. They was like, when you go down in the country, you just seem to get so much done. You just so grounded. And
mm,
I'm like, I'm grounded when I'm in the city too. It's just different. I don't know.
mm, mm,
Um, but I try to surround myself with peace, tranquility, happiness,
mm,
positivity in
mhm,
every aspect. and
mhm,
and that is what that's the only thing I can say that keeps me sane.
mhm. Yeah,
Just
yeah, the meditation and finding that peace. Because I talk about a spiritual toolkit, and a spiritual toolkit is the practices that we have in our spiritual toolkit.
right.
And it's personal to us because we get to pick and choose what spiritual practices work for us. There's so
Exactly.
many of them that we probably could use all of them, but we have our go-tos. There are particular ones that we do. What would you say are your top go-to practices?
What, when I'm a little stressed or when I'm
Yeah, when you're a little stressed or when you're not stressed, right?
my go-to
What's in your
practices, if
toolkit?
I'm stressed, my go-to practice is a roll me up a blunt and have me a cocktail and pull it together. Okay, let's keep it real. I ain't gonna tell no
That's a
lie.
spiritual practice, right?
Okay.
No, I'm saying, but what about your meditation practice? Well, I mean, and I think that it's interesting when you said when you're stressed. What I like to think of spiritual practices in both ways, like when you're stressed and when you're not stressed, right?
Well, I
Because
mean, and
I like
it can
to
work on
laugh,
both ends
right?
because
Uh,
sometimes I just want to come out like one of my practices is being down here. I'll come out and sit out on this deck that I'm out on now.
mhm.
It's dark, so you can't really see, but it's like 7 acres going down to this lake, and sometimes I just sit out here and just zone and listen to
Mm,
the birds and
mhm.
look at the green and just
Nature.
nature. Yeah,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
yeah. I
mhm,
definitely, and even like even in the city, like I'm blessed enough. My apartment's on the top floor. When I say I got a freaking view of the city of Atlanta, it's crazy. I'll
mm,
sit out there, have me a
mhm.
nice on glass of Pinot Noir, going
Right.
out, baby. I
And
going out.
chill, right? And chill,
Just
chill.
chill.
Right.
I've seen some of the best sunrises and sunsets, and I just
Mhm,
just I get out there and just get engulfed in the majesty of it. You know what I'm saying? Of just the
Mhm.
world and just the creation. Just I get into that, and that to me just it brings solace. It brings peace to me because I'm like, you know what? It's all good. You're still here, able to see this, and it's gonna be all right. You
Mhm.
know?
Mhm. I love that you said the sunset and the sunrise because I love that too. That's one of
Oh
my
God.
favorite things. And I take pictures
Oh
every
my
time
God.
I can, right? And I
I'll
have just
send you
so many
some when we get
pictures,
off the phone. I'm gonna send you
right?
some pictures of God. I
Of
got
sunsets and
yes,
sunrises.
yes,
That's one of my favorite things to do, right?
yeah.
So I like that we talked about nature because I had another friend who was talking about moving out of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that happened was that she's now experienced being in nature in upstate New York, right? So
Mm-hmm.
by going there on the weekends, now she's just dying to move out of the city. It's concrete jungle now, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah. You get
she's
spoiled.
connected with nature and so grounded in it and feeling so great about it that now she's ready to leave the city and move upstate where she can go to the parks and the lakes. And so I do understand, and I understand how grounding it could be, supportive, and that sense of peace and tranquility that can come from being in nature. I
Oh
like it.
yeah.
Yeah, one of
It
the
makes such a big difference. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, you don't look your age." I'm like, "Cause I don't stress. I'm not getting. I'm not trying to get the chicken feet around up and through there. No,
right.
I ain't doing
I
all that
like it.
there.
Like no stress, no stress. I say grace and ease. I'm living my life, right?
That's it.
With grace
That's
and
it.
ease,
No
right?
stress.
And stress has no space in that, right?
Nope.
So I'm really excited that you were here to talk about what's been going on with you.
I'm glad you
You have
had me.
some time left. You can share, what is it that you would like to share with people, and what is it that you would like them to know about you
About me,
or about, um,
I'm an open book. Whatever you want to know, you can ask me. As far as what I would
do
like to
you
share with
have
you.
any information to share?
Say what now?
Yeah. What information do you have to share?
What I would say to anybody that's listening to this broadcast is be true to yourself. Um, Love life. Do unto
Mm,
others as you want others to do unto you,
mhm,
and just be a loving individual. That's I mean,
mhm,
because I know how you can benefit from that. God is love, and if we want to
mhm,
name God, Jehovah, Buddha, whoever, it's about
mhm,
love. And
mhm,
I know when you stand in love, and I'm a witness of it. I've lived it. I've stood
mhm,
in love, and
mhm,
I see where I've been blessed by it, by just standing and treating and doing the best that I possibly can, keeping my mind and ears and eyes and heart open
mhm,
um, to just positive things.
mhm,
And I
mhm,
would say, as long as you stand in that and keep a positive outlook on life, you're gonna what you put out is what will come back. You put positive out there, it will come back to you.
mhm.
That I
It's
know from experience.
right. It's really good to hear that because we talk about, the ups and downs and all the different places we've been and the things that we've done and
Mhm.
tend to come out on the end and, like I've been blessed. Like I went through these trials,
Oh, I
but
don't regret
then
any
I'm
of it.
on this side. And you do look good, like you hanging in there, right?
I'm holding court, right? I'm just like, oh,
you you hold it on,
I
right?
ain't mad. I'm not mad at him.
Right. But and I think that that is a great philosophy, you know, when we're talking about like standing in love, and we talk about
Yeah.
being positive, and what you put out is what you get back. I like that
And
because
trust me, I am not perfect.
no.
I'm still a work in progress.
Mhm.
But I'm a firm believer. If you don't, if you're not learning, well, you might as well be dead. Because we, as long as
Mhm.
we alive, we should be learning something.
Mhm.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Keep an open mind and open heart.
Mhm. Cool. So it was good catching up with you after all this
I
time. We
know,
will
right?
not have 25 years
Wow.
past,
I
right?
can't believe Jasmine is a grown woman, almost 40 years. I can't.
You throwing her age
That is
on the
blowing
thing.
my mind. And
'Cause
see,
remember how we met in the village, right? Bank
you didn't even
Street. Like, I
remember
didn't
her
even
because
remember. I thought I met you in New Jersey,
I
right?
was like,
You were
oh,
like,
no, ma'am.
I
No,
met
I,
you in the
no.
village on Bank Street. I was like, that was some many years,
Yep,
right?
on
The
Bank
village.
Street.
Oh my
See, and I just
God,
remember
living
the
in the
street,
village.
Bank Street. Yep.
I know. And we went a lot
Dang,
of
that's a long
places. New
time.
Jersey, 53rd
Yep,
Street, right?
yep, 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 yep. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. When
yeah,
I think back, and it seems like now that I'm thinking about it, it seems like just yesterday,
right. It doesn't
but
seem
it's
that
been a
long.
minute.
Yeah,
That's a long time, 20
long
odd
time.
years.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Oh. Yeah,
yeah.
I gotta definitely, we gotta do dinner when I'm up there. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we'll
Definitely.
definitely get together when you come to New
Definitely.
York. But it
Yes,
was
next
great.
month.
I'm so happy that we're connected
I
again,
am
and I'll
too.
definitely
I am
will
too.
see you soon, and I'll be in touch with you.
And thank you again, Gran. I love you
All
so
right,
much, and I
I love you
appreciate you
too.
having me on the show. Okay.
All right,
All righty,
take care.
baby. Bye
All
bye.
right, bye. Thank you for joining me tonight on Conversations with Reverend G. And I'm here every Monday night bringing you special guests. And we talk about spirituality from a practical point of view. We talk about how spirituality has supported us in our lives. Tonight was really special for me because meeting up with old friends and catching up and finding out what's going on can be really great. So I was really excited to have Parker on the show and have all the memories of the different things that we've done, and it just brings like you like kind of walk through, wow, that was 20 years ago, that was 30 years ago, and you have these memories. So it's been really good having that connection. So I'm Reverend G, and you can find me on Facebook as Reverend Grenetta Mason. I am also on Instagram as Rev Grenetta and on YouTube as Reverend Grenetta Mason. And I'd like to leave you with a little tip for your mindful moments. We talk about mindful moments as a time when we stop and just get some clarity and just take a moment. And in your mindful moment, I like what Parker said about love. When you can give love, then you can receive love. So, in your mindful moment, think about the people that you love. Think about the love that you receive and that the love you give. I'm Reverend G, and I will see you again next Monday night here on WEMS Radio at 8 p.m. You have a great week, and I love you all.